All right. Hello, this is Wmpyr. Yeah, I was asked pretty much, what do I EDC for self-defense? That was the question, and we start off, or the person started off talking to me about their karambit. Okay, so let me start the conversation there, and then I'll get there. But starting off, the karambit, they just purchased the cold steel. I forgot the name, but yeah, from my understanding, it's a pretty huge karambit. And, in a way, like, I feel like, well, the karambit is supposed to be a smaller knife. Like, I like the karambit as a small knife. And that one is massive. And like, to me, the benefit of the karambit is that it is small, it is concealable, it is pretty much like when I hate it when people say this, but it is an extension of the hand. And what I mean is, like, you have your hand and it's a claw. Like, literally, it is your hand with a little thing coming out. That, to me, that is the way that I see the karambit. So what that means is I'm using hand skills. So martial arts empty hand skills goes well with the karambit. And if you're talking about, like, let's say a Bowie knife, or like a Rambo knife, a survival knife, something along those lines, then the blade is bigger, it's longer, it's heavier. Now we're talking about, like, it's like a mini sword. The way that you're going to use that is now getting closer and closer to a sword because it is like a sword. So to me, that is the difference there. In combat, would you rather have a sword or would you rather have a hand weapon? And the answer is obviously sword. Do you want brass knuckles? I don't care if it has spikes on it. Or do you want a sword? If you're going to face up against this person, I will bet $1 million. I'll bet 10 million on the person with the sword, of course. You know, so that's why a karambit is gonna the person with the karambit's gonna get killed if they go up against someone who has, like, a Rambo knife. I put my money on the Rambo knife guy. Okay, because reach is a factor, but that's only if you're starting one on one, face squaring each other off like a challenge match. This could still happen on the street, but you are faced off with each other, and it would be a bad idea if you have a much shorter weapon, like you have a karambit and they have a freaking Rambo knife. That's a bad idea for you, don't do it. But so but in a real life situation, when we say a real life situation, it's a lot more than just that. A lot more than just we're squared off and we're gonna go at it. We could be talking about, like, you are running. You got to get to your car. You got to put the key in, open the door. You got to drive. Who knows? Maybe you're involved in a riot. Maybe like three gang guys are coming after you, so you're running to your car. So in that case, if you have a karambit, then the karambit is, if it's like a smaller karambit like I'm talking about, it's less likely to get in the way, and you could still drive, you could still open the door, you could do all of that. Whereas if you had a Bowie knife in your hand, it's going to be harder to do those things. With a karambit, I could still climb a chain link fence and get over it. With a Bowie knife, it's going to make things a little bit trickier. So now you have to deal with that. So that's really where it starts to come down, and then you have the convenience of carry, concealment, all those things the karambit now has in favor. So if you're talking about sheer combat, I put my money on the Bowie knife or the Rambo knife. But if you're talking about with other elements included, then the karambit really starts to shine. So, but really what we're talking about is, I'm going to view it in a more extreme. It's a sword versus a hand weapon, okay? If that makes sense. Like, you're talking about empty hand skills versus a sword. That's really it. And that's why a lot of martial artists prefer the karambit. They like that. Because all the training that they do with empty hands, the karambit's only gonna make that even better. So it helps out in that sense. But if you try to do your empty hand martial arts skills with a Bowie knife, it can get in the way. You kind of have to start fighting more like a sword, the way it's done that way. It starts to force you. Okay. So anyway, yeah, the cold steel karambit being big. I mean, it's no surprise to me. Lynn Thompson has made it very, very clear that he likes big blades. And I believe that's because from his sparring and training experience, which he seems like he has extensive training, is that and he comes from basically linked to Professor Danny Dos Santos. So we're talking about Filipino martial arts. Filipino martial arts is a sword art, espada y daga. It comes from that. Or should I say it has a huge influence from that. So it's no surprise to me that he's thinking in sword mindset rather than like what the Silat Indonesian karambit mindset is. That's more to me like you'd hide it inside your sleeve and it's an assassin weapon. You get very, very close to the opponent and boom, you take them out. So it's a completely different, compared to the espada y daga, it's totally different in that sense, in my opinion. And so in a way, I could say, what was Lynn Thompson thinking? He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. What the hell? You don't understand the karambit. But on the other hand, I can admire what he did. And he said, hey, maybe that's what the karambit's for, but it doesn't change the fact that in combat, the reach matters. Big time, even in empty hand. Look at boxing. Reach is huge. It's a huge element, even in the battlefield. That's why spears were so powerful. The Chinese say spear's the best weapon on the ancient battlefield. So, I get all that. So what Lynn Thompson did was he made the karambit have sword-like qualities because he made it so huge, So I can admire that so in his mind he made the ultimate karambit. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying in his mind, he probably did design the ultimate karambit the way it makes sense to him. And if you start to understand his point of view, like I said, that he comes from espada y daga, it starts to make sense, So I can definitely, I get that. I get that. And this is coming from a guy who likes smaller karambits. So I can definitely see and understand his point of view. So anyway, the guy was like, well then, is the normal traditional karambit, is that bad for Filipino martial arts? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I mean, we have dirty boxing, Filipino dirty boxing. It stems from, to me, it's just an extension of, Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis. So, yeah, I don't think that the karambit does not work well. No, I think it works well with Kia. And in fact, Kia to me is designed to work well with, it's one of the arts that seems to work well with just about, I wouldn't say anything and everything, but a lot of things, it's very versatile. Okay, so now the next part of the question is, what do I personally carry for self-defense in my EDC? And this is a bag that I rotate through bags, but my defense bag, without a doubt, this is a belt bag. So I use this. Now, the easiest explanation I could give you guys is say, I use it like a shield, right? And people go, oh, I get it. They get it right away. But really, and I was just discussing this with my student the other day, that's not accurate technically. Technique-wise, that is not accurate. Concept-wise, if I said, yeah, you're using your bag as a shield, people get it. Technique-wise, I'm actually using this as a knife, really. That's really what it comes down to. So when I grab it, and to me, it's the same techniques. Heaven 6, Heaven 4, chainsaw, all that. That's what I'm doing with this. angles of attack, double arm weaving. So I'm using it like a knife. I would say a one-handed sword, but no, this is way short, so it's closer to a knife. So we use a knife too. So yeah, that's really the more accurate. I'm using it like a knife. What else? These are my keys. So on my keys, I have a small Swiss Army knife. I use this like a Kubotan. Okay, boom. None of the blades here lock, but if I needed a blade for some reason, well, here it is. It don't lock. Keep that in mind. But you know, old timers used the knife without a lock, and they were fine with it. They did some pretty hardcore tasks. So, you know, I'm not against locking knives, obviously. I'm all for it. But, you know, who is to say this would probably bend, by the way. But who is to say that you can't? Anyway, here, you know, now it's like a push dagger. Even better is the reamer tool. If you use this as a push dagger, there you go. But really, my idea is just a Kubotan right there. And then the other thing, in my defense bag, you can see I have this guy right here. So this is a bare bones minimum pepper spray. So that's really what I'll be doing. So I'm using the defense bag first. And if they still try to keep coming in, and if I have time to get it out, is the pepper spray. And if they still persist, then this, you know, hammer fist, right? So, but really, I don't want to get there, because now you're talking about like I got to get close, and yeah. So I want to take care of things in long range. So that's why the other two come first. Now, if I go into a neighborhood, if I know that I'm going to a neighborhood that's more dangerous, a side of town that's going to be more bad, then I upgrade everything. I have belt bags that provide, once again, back to that shield idea, a much better shield than this one, more heavy duty. I have a pepper spray that's much better than this one. And then I could upgrade this into one of Professor Brian Frank's knives, because that's what I'll go to, because that has the Kubotan capability, and it also has the blade capability. So, yeah, I would upgrade to something along those lines, you know. What about the karambit? Well, Professor Brian Frank designed a karambit, and yeah, the sangat. I have carried that, depending on the side of town that I'm in, the area that I'm in. I have carried it before. And to this day, you know, if I am going to the wrong side of town, yeah, I'll carry that, sure. But for the most part, the karambit stays at home. It is for home training and in case of a home invasion. But I will tell you this, I tend to go for the tomahawk. You know, more than the firearm that we have, the tomahawk is the fastest deployment here at home. So if someone were to break in, that's probably what they're going to be greeted with, is the tomahawk. And the tomahawk is, ooh, man, that thing is devastating. Yeah, devastating. So that is a great thanks to Great Bear, 1982, I believe. Yeah, I don't think he's on YouTube anymore. But anyway, yeah, back in the day, he sent me that tomahawk, and I've used it in so many ways, and I feel like it's really stood the test of time very well. It survived corrosion, rusting. I mean, I put it in all kinds of, you know, bad weather. Yeah, I've cut trees with it. I mean, I've done stuff that it's not even designed for. I pushed its limits, you know. Yeah, that thing is amazing, amazing. So yeah, I'm confident that if I had to use it, you know, that I've spent a lot of time with it. But yeah, so in case of a home invasion, that is the quickest. So it would be like a tomahawk and a flashlight, or tomahawk, and if I had time, a firearm, you know. It'd be something like that I would go to. But yeah, tomahawk is the quickest. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.